listening to Hownikan Podcast, highlighting citizen Potawatomi Nation issues, members, and more. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Paige Willett. Today we're talking about art created by tribal members, a stop-motion animator, and a painter who mixes foundations of Native American art with eclecticism. And we'll also hear about the similarities and differences between bald and golden eagles from a CPN Eagle Aviary staff member. Oklahoma native and CPN member Stuart Sampson finds inspiration for his paintings in the feel and composition of everything from Potawatomi artifacts to post-impressionism. The Hownikan's Mary Bell Zook discussed his artistic style, heritage, and new works over coffee at Oklahoma City's The Red Cup.
Let's start out with your background and how you got started in art.
You know, it's funny because I've always loved art, and at an early age, loved to draw, loved to use markers and that sort of thing. And really, I've had no training as far as art school or anything like that. It was all just a love for painting, and so I think I've always had that passion for art and that love for it. Really, my painting kind of started over a couple of years ago. When I was just not really happy with what I was doing as far as career was concerned, and kind of turned to my art. It's always been a happy place for me, always somewhere that I go and express my feelings and emotions that way.
So what is your creative process like?
I'll always start with a piece of wood. I use mostly birch wood, but I've used oak and pine and that sort of thing. But I'll start off with a piece of wood and stain it. And then from the staining process, I'll draw my image out, and then from there, I will obviously paint it. I always work from photographs, or usually work from photographs, and I can kind of doctor them up the way I want to, but I don't really ever have a plan as far as when I start a piece of how it's going to end up. It just kind of happens organically, and I think that's a part of art that I love so much is, you start with an idea, and at the end, it might be totally different than the one you started with, so that's just kind of how it works for me.
So a lot of your art focuses on Native American imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to focus on that?
It all comes from my grandfather, and he was very passionate about his heritage. I think growing up, I just seeing, paintings and stuff in his house, just different kind of artifacts and things like that, it just kind of sparked my curiosity. Later in life, I started doing research and just really have always loved the imagery and the culture. Obviously, family is really important in the culture, and so I think that's what sparked me to just have a love for it.
Well, speaking about family, what Potawatomi family are you from?
From Charles Greenmore and Ruth Greenmore, I believe.
Well, what would you say has been your biggest accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment, it's just selling works. I don't think I've had one moment. Really, last year was the first year I started putting my work out there. And since then, I've had a solo show with the Chickasaw Nation, and I'm showing my work here in Oklahoma City at a gallery, the Howe Gallery. And so I would say those two things, being able to find an outlet to sell my work has been a really big accomplishment. I've really been lucky, honestly, to have people support me and people who love my art, just as much as I love painting. So I'd say those are probably my biggest accomplishments.
So one of the pieces that you brought by for us to look at is a wood piece that you've carved a headdress on, a man wearing a headdress. Can you talk a little bit about that process? Because that seems a little bit different than what you normally do.
Yeah, it is. I had kind of toyed with the idea of using a Dremel, which is a rotary tool. And I had used it on a piece a while back, and I had done some crosses in the background and really thought it was a cool look. So I wanted to kind of expand on that. I think art is all trial and error. I didn't know how it was going to come out. I had no idea of the process. And so I drew my image out. It's more of a graphic image. I'm really detail oriented in my painting. With this one, it was really new, really messy. There's a lot of sawdust in the air. But I think the end process, I'm really happy with it. And I've done a couple more since then. And so I think it's something that I'll probably keep doing. But, I think as an artist, you kind of get bored with doing the same thing. So it's just finding new outlets and finding new mediums to express yourself is what I enjoy about it.
So what kind of paint do you normally use? Acrylic, oil?
Mostly acrylics. I have done some oil work. I'm not as familiar with oils as I am acrylic. I just prefer acrylic more, just it dries faster. It's just easier to work with personally.
So you were speaking earlier about going to Red Earth Festival. Can you talk a little bit about what's happened in the past for you at Red Earth and what you're expecting this year?
Yeah, Red Earth last year was my very first year and really my first show I've ever done, and I can remember just being extremely nervous. I was really nervous about putting my work out there and having other people, judge it and that sort of thing. And it couldn't have been a better experience from all the other artists that were there. Very supportive, very helpful, and helping me get into different shows and that sort of thing. I took 14 pieces and sold 11, which was amazing for me, and really excited to go back this year and show my work.
What are you hoping that you can accomplish in the future? What's your biggest goal that you'd like to do with your art?
And my biggest goal is just to become a full-time artist. I taken some time off of work this summer and really enjoyed touring and getting to see new places and showing my artwork. So I think being able to provide for my family as an artist would be the ultimate goal for me. I think in life, when you find your passion, it's not work at all.
So I've seen on your Instagram that you have actually painted some Potawatomi chiefs. Can you talk a little bit about where you went to find those images and how you kind of decided to paint them?
I did Chief Abram Burnett. One of my friends, it's his great-great-great-grandfather, and he had me commission that piece, and he had an image at his house that had been in the family for years, and so that's what I had used.
Well, does creativity run in your family then?
It does. My dad, I can remember when I was younger, he would have a painting here and there, or he'd draw and stuff like that. My mom's a seamstress, and her house is immaculate. So I think I've had that kind of eye of art, if you want to say that. My sister is a musician, and my dad plays guitar as well. So yeah, I think it does run in our family quite a bit. Really fortunate.
Well, I noticed you like to utilize bright, kind of vibrant colors.
I think my palette is a lot different than a traditional Native American piece. I'm a big T.C. Cannon fan, and I think he was very known for his bold color palettes. I love Van Gogh, and so I think you see a lot of those, vibrant colors coming out in my works as well. I don't know if I plan on that. It's just something that kind of happens. I think it works well, with a neutral background as far as the wood. I stain all my wood. Recently started using a new process using fabric dye to give some more color to that piece of wood. I think I got bored with seeing browns and grays all the time. The first piece I ever did is in my garage, and it's not very good, but it's where it all started. And I think, you look at some of my latest pieces, it's really cool to see the progression.
Well, outside of Native American art, what are some other pieces that you've just really loved to be able to create?
I'm a big golfer. I love golf. I've done I did an Arnold Palmer piece that I was really excited about. Obviously a big Thunder fan. I played basketball growing up, so I've done a couple of Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams stuff. It's made me a better artist. It's kind of stepping outside the box, so to speak. Native American imagery is my favorite, and it's something that I'll always love, but it is nice to have different perspective, a different challenge every once in a while.
I've appreciated being able to talk to you and get to know you a little bit better. It's just really cool to see you grow as an artist.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me out. It's great getting to talk to you.
You can browse Stuart Sampson's catalog at stuartsampsonart.com. That's StuartSampson art.com. The bald eagle is revered in North America both as the national animal of the United States and by Native American tribes as a warrior and messenger. However, indigenous people across the continent feel a connection to different kinds of eagles, including the golden eagle. The Citizen Potawatomi Nation Eagle Aviary houses bald and golden eagles that either need medical treatment or are permanently disabled. Currently, 13 bald eagles and 2 golden eagles live at the aviary. Manager Jennifer Randell sat down with Hownikan Podcast to discuss the similarities and differences between the two species. She started with the most discernible way to tell the two apart, their looks.
So when they're a juvenile bald eagle, they can look very similar to a golden eagle, which is all kind of chocolatey brown, except for their first year. So a first-year golden eagle is going to have some white in its tail, in the very base of its tail, not like our bald eagle. So that is the most noticeable difference when they're adults. But like I said, juvenile can be very similar in those first about 3 or 4 years. And the way you tell if they've reached that maturity is that full white head and white tail. That first year, they're going to be completely chocolate brown, which gives them completely great camouflage against a tree trunk. So that is, in theory, why they don't have that white head and white tail starting out. So like I said, it can be anywhere from 4 to 6 years. Some of them, you'll still see a little bit of dark even into adulthood, and some of them keep that. Just like people are different, each one is a little different, feathers, and so some of them will keep a little dark streak in their head, but definitely have a full white head and white tail when they're mature. The beaks, actually, the bald eagle beak is much larger than the golden eagle. So the golden eagle's gonna have a little bit narrower, smaller beak, and it's also gonna stay black. So your bald eagle, it's gonna be black when it's juvenile. We talked about how they're dark when they're young. It's gonna turn golden. So the bald eagle goes through an incredible transformation. Their beak, their feathers, their eye color, all that changes for the bald eagle. And their eyes are very dark when they're young, and it kind of helps that camouflage we talked about. And as they get older, they'll actually get very light and a golden in color. So they're going to be really light-eyed when they're adults, kind of to match their beak. And then the golden eagle, their eyes doesn't change as much, but it's going to lighten up just a hair, but it's going to always stay darker. It's going to be a really nice, dark brown, kind of amber color. So that's a little bit different. Bald eagles are going to have a lighter eye color when they're adults.
They also both belong to 2 different avian families, one living off the land and the other off the water. Their methods of processing the world around them also lead to different personality types.
So our bald eagle, you're mainly going to find it around rivers and lakes and a water source because their main diet would be fish. Fish and things you're going to find around water, turtles even. But our golden eagles, they don't eat fish. They're going to eat mammals. So you're going to see them in open prairies and open land like that. And also the big difference is where they nest also. So that's a difference too. But the bald eagle is in the fish family. And the golden eagle is in what they call the Aquila family. And that is like a booted eagle. So they're actually more close related to a hawk. And your bald eagle is kind of close related to a kite. Your bald eagles do not have feathered legs, but the golden eagle is going to have those feathers all the way to the top of their feet. And so the bald eagles we mentioned hunts fish and spends a lot of time in the water. Well, the golden eagles eat things that will bite them also, like foxes and snakes and things like that. So those feathers actually help protect them. But that is a really great fact to bring up, that you can see that, if they're standing, you can really see those very well. And also on the golden eagle, they have a really distinct ridge above their eyes. And we kind of like to say that's their built-in sun visors, because we talked about them being an open prairie, and the bald eagle's not going to have that definite, ridge above their brow. If you kind of were to think about what you take to go fishing, a fishing pole, that gear, and what you take to go elk hunting. So that's your kind of difference. I'm not trying to say one's smarter than the other. It's just a different way they kind of work things out and think about things. So yeah, the bald eagles are a little bit more jumpy, a little more nervous usually. And the golden eagles will actually hunt cooperatively, which our bald eagles don't. So they'll hunt in groups and can take down pretty large prey like small deer and antelope.
Those differences in avian families and hunting lead to varying nesting practices. However, they have some similarities about raising their young too.
The golden eagle likes to nest on sides of cliffs, sides of mountains, not so much in trees, but our bald eagles, as many of you know, will nest right on the top of a tree, 20 or 30 feet up. So that also determines where they spend most of their time. Hence the bald eagle, like we talked about, around water. They'll be in a big tree next to a body of water. They've got a good food source. The golden eagle is going to be on the open prairie on the side of a cliff or a mountain. So all of our eagles are very communal and social unless it comes to the nesting grounds and nesting time. So when food sources are good and it's not nesting, it's the off season, you'll see hundreds of eagles together eating, bald and golden eagles. And both our bald eagles and golden eagles will eat carrion. So you'll actually see them eating together sometimes on like carrion, things like that. Nobody's going to pass up a free meal, especially in winter. They will defend their nest sometimes to the death to another eagle. They usually lay 2 to 3 eggs, and that's the same with the golden bald eagles, but the biggest difference is the incubation time. So bald eagle is going to hatch, their eggs are going to hatch in about 35 days or so, 35, 36. A golden eagle goes 40 to 45 days. So it's quite a big difference, and they both will stair-step their eggs as far as laying them. So you might have an eaglet hatch one day and it be a couple of days later and have another one. So, and that kind of helps that first eaglet get a little bit of food, and so if they have 3 eggs and 3 hatch, we've seen actually 3 survive and leave the nest, so that's exciting. Generally, if they choose a mate and mate for life, if one perishes or passes away, they won't choose another one. So they're very committed to one eagle. And the fantastic thing is eagles have a built-in GPS. So in my mind, I always thought they spent all the time together, because you see them together when they're nesting. They do not. So about half the year, 6 months out of the year, they're in other states, other parts of the United States, and then their built-in GPS brings them back together within 2 weeks of each other to nest every year. So that's probably how they mate for life, because they spend half the year apart, right?
The CPN Eagle Aviary helps with conservation efforts and works daily to ensure these honored birds continue to thrive. Golden eagles live around the globe. However, the bald eagle is the only eagle found solely in North America, where there are approximately 3 times as many bald eagles as golden eagles.
And we're a Great Lakes tribe, originally from the Great Lakes, so we would be around more bald eagles. So a lot of our, like the Zuni tribe in New Mexico, takes more of the golden eagles, but there's just not as many golden eagles that need placement, that need help. And unfortunately, some of that's because of where they hunt and where they live. They're not found as often. We all know, many of us out there have seen bald eagles right by the lake where, have a boat out on, or fishing right by town. So in Oklahoma, people are familiar with the Wichita Mountains. There used to be nesting pairs of golden eagles there, but just too much foot traffic. So unfortunately, sometimes, we can coexist a little bit, but sometimes not so much. So we try to help that in ways of conservation and things too. If some eagles don't nest for 9 or 10 years, and they only lay 2 eggs, it doesn't take long if something's happening with them for them to, their numbers to get so low that they're almost extinct. In our state of Oklahoma, just to kind of give you an idea, there were 0 eagles in our state of Oklahoma in the 70s and early 80s, not one. And now there's over 300 nesting pairs just in our state. So how fantastic is it they've made such a comeback? And our bald eagles are in every state except for Hawaii. Great news. They're still, of course, protected, but off the endangered list and doing very well.
The construction of the CPN Eagle Aviary was funded in part by a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service grant. Aviary tours are available by appointment only. For more information, visit potawatomiHeritage.com or email aviary@potawatomi.org. That's aviary at potawatomi.org. Puppetry, installation exhibits, painting, and set design are only a few skills of artist Nicole Evans. However, stop-motion animation is one of the highlights of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation tribal members' filmography. It's a style of filmmaking where meticulously moving the subject matter a tiny bit at a time and photographing single frames creates the appearance of movement. I got the chance to interview her about her ancestry, inspiration, and thoughts on art.
I really enjoy stop motion because it incorporates all kinds of art. You can do sculpture, drawings, storytelling, just the artistry of filmmaking. I really enjoy directing and just creating my own worlds that I can bring to life through stop motion. And I also really enjoy stop motion because you can have control over all aspects.
Experimental filmmaker Nicole Evans has cultivated a varied career. Adult Swim's animated sketch comedy show Robot Chicken and feature film Helen Back, starring comedian Nick Swartzen and actress Mila Kunis, highlight Evans' resume. Her credits also include commercials, music videos, and low-budget features.
I think I've always been an artist since I was a little kid. I've always been just drawing. We had a cookbook cover contest when I was in 1st grade, and I won that. I'm not the best illustrator, but I just really enjoy creating. I enjoy drawing. I enjoy painting and making objects and sculpting, and I just enjoy creating.
She grew up in Oklahoma near Citizen Potawatomi Nation headquarters. A few years ago, she moved back to Oklahoma after living in New York City and Los Angeles. She is an adjunct faculty member at the Oklahoma City Museum of Art and teaches at other educational institutions. She focuses on expression and communication as important functions of art.
My favorite thing is to work with young artists and pull that magical piece out of them, be able to pull whatever is in their heart out of them and encourage them to do that and give them just the tools and the support and the confidence to be able to make something on their own. It's really fulfilling.
With the help of a tribal scholarship, Emmons graduated in 1998 from Columbia College Chicago in Illinois. With a bachelor's in animation and film, she followed her filmmaking passions to New York City. She made industry contacts and joined a Women in Animation group. Nickelodeon hired her to do digital layout as part of its animation department in 1999, and she worked there for 2 years.
So I decided I really wanted to be more hands-on, and I also wanted to get back to being on set. Stop motion is a really hands-on creative process, and I enjoy that over computer.
Evans took steps to make stop motion her priority after several years of working on lighting and camera crews. She applied for a prestigious fellowship at the California Institute of the Arts in Valencia, California, earning her master's in 2010. She worked for Cartoon Network in Los Angeles before moving back to Oklahoma, where opportunities flourished.
A local director in town contacted me, Kyle Roberts, and he has done some work with Mattel, and he's going to be doing stuff with DreamWorks. And he contacted me because I do stop motion and invited me to work on a Thomas the Train project.
Evans contributes to major installations, is a member of an art collective, and adds to her portfolio while participating in Oklahoma City's thriving art scene. Teaching and collaborating remain her focal points. Her style is whimsical and surrealistic, incorporating themes such as feminism and her Native American ancestry.
One thing I would really like to do is get involved with telling Native stories, using the skills that I have gained over my lifetime to really tell some stories of the people that are already here. I'm trying to reach out to other Native artists and start working with them.
The Oklahoma landscape and Native ideology inspire Evans. She is a member of Oklahoma City's Factory Obscura Artist Collective, which created an installation exhibit titled Shift in 2017. As part of the team, one of 2 towers she created highlighted the effects of wind farms on migratory bird flight paths and populations.
We just really need to think harder about the connectivity of animals and mankind, and just be more respectful of the planet that we're on and all of its inhabitants, because we're only one of those.
She is a descendant of the Malo, View, and Navarre families and prioritizes deepening the connection to her Potawatomi heritage. Her grandfather, Alvin Malo, turned 99 in 2018, making her consider the past century of her family history.
When he was young, being outspoken as a Native American was kind of frowned upon in his small community in Tecumseh. But as he got older, his family gained more pride in their tribal heritage. And so by the time I came around, they were very much proud of their heritage, and it was something we definitely talked about all the time.
2 generations later, Evans keeps the conversation going through her work and by teaching artists how to tell their stories too. For more of Evans' work, visit NicoleEmmons.com. NicoleEmmons.com. Hownikan Podcast is produced and brought to you by the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Public Information Department. Our director is Jennifer Bell. The theme music is written and performed by Marcia Bindo. You can visit us on the web and find digital editions of the tribal newspaper at potawatomi.org. That's POTAWATOMI.org. We're on Facebook at Citizen Potawatomi Nation and on Twitter at C_P_N. Until next time, I'm Paige Willett. Miigwech Nikanek, Bamamina. Thank you, friends. See you later.